Yeah. Impact Wrestling. Now, let's make this quick for the problems that the show had. I'm going to do it now. I'm going to do it straight. Lighting was fine. Audio was fine. Camera work halfway through the show was not. First match, second match, third match was good. Fine, regular, ordinary camera work. I think they have two different people running the cameras once they go through the first stage of the first three matches to the last stage of the 4, 5, and 6. Because someone in the production truck, I don't know who it was. I don't really care who it was. They do this. When dramatic hits came, what did we get? That. Really? You haven't learned nothing? Whoever's there still hadn't learned anything. You think because you're near the end of the show, you have to start making things heavily dramatic. When a guy gets smacked in the face or hit in the face, you gotta go like this? Come on. People didn't like it when Vince did it. People still don't like it. Come on, think about it. I'm just saying it for the person who is in production that would be crazy enough to actually watch this tiny, insignificant gnat of a YouTuber. Hi. I'm just saying this as someone who has to watch this at home. And this is just me reviewing it and trying to enjoy the show. We don't like seeing that. We don't like the Vince McMahon moniker of zooming things in to make it more cinematic. We want to be able to see the action in the ring. If you got to focus in on the person and the expression, you don't need to go this close. Zoom in on their chest. Zoom in on their shoulders. At least that much. Don't go this close because then the person moves too quickly for the camera to catch it. Now, done. I had to do it so you can understand. Now, first match. The first match of the night, which I found to be quite good. Chris Bay versus Kushida. About to say Kateska. Kushida. The time splitter himself. This was a very good show. This was a very good showing for both of them. And Kushida focused mainly on the left arm of a Chris Bay since he's left-handed. They made that very apparent when it came to Tom and let me give it to you like this. When the commentary team is focusing so heavily on a body part, they're trying to make it important that these guys mean business. And when it came to Matthew and Tom, they were really trying to sell that. Did they go overboard with it? Not too much. It's all right. I like to say that Tom trying to go, ooh, oh, can be a little annoying once in a while, but it wasn't bad here because we got a lot of fast-paced action, good chain wrestling at first because Kushida is a good chain wrestler, which they did in the very opening of the match. About maybe a minute or two. But I'll tell you at the end, it was more high-flying and more high-impact than anything else. In the end, Kushida did win. Now, does this hurt a Chris Bay? No, it does not. It doesn't. But the question is going to be eventually, you got to do something with the Bullet Club. You got to do something with Ace and Chris. You got to throw them into the main title scene with the titles or split them apart and let them each go after their own title. The Digital Media Championship and the X Division. Yes, we now have a tiered system. We got the Digital Media, we got the X, and we got the World title. We got something now. No one can say you don't got it. So if you're not going to give them the titles against the Motor City Machine Guns, you must do something eventually with them. I don't want to see them just languish. Let's move on. Second match. It was a qualifying match for No Surrender. Now this was for the Fatal 4-Way, and the person who won it would be the number one contender going after Josh after No Surrender. This one was Maclin versus Rhino. Now, did I believe Rhino was going to win? No. Nothing against Rhino. I still love Rhino. But my boy Maclin, this must be his year. They need to do something with him. Steve Maclin from 2021 into 22 and into 23 has been putting up good matches. And his character has developed very well. It is time for him to be put into the main title scene. They need to do it because, to be honest, you don't have that many people left for a Josh Alexander to deal with. Or counting on whoever wins the match, because we're going to have PCOs in the match. Also, now Rich Swann I think the reason I'm botching here is what happened in the next match, the qualifying match with Eddie Edwards and PCO. It's just that we got all these guys, and the only one who seems to be the most viable is a Steve Maclin. I'm just saying it. This is just me. I don't know about you guys, but tell me below, do you believe Steve is ready? Because at this point, it's not just about him being ready. It's that you don't got many people left if Josh Alexander wins at No Surrender. I'm just saying. He did win. We know this. Let's move on. Now, the... the road to 50 for Johnny Swinger. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sure I put a picture of me. I put a picture of Johnny Swinger in my face, unless I'm going to be really mean to myself and say no. But Johnny Swinger's road to 50, and it is Ziggy Dice who picked him a guy, and it is Barry Horowitz. Barry Horowitz. Seriously? Barry? I had a feeling this wasn't going to go I thought it was going to be Zicky Dice who was going to job for him. And it would have been better if it was, if they really meant something with this. But they used Barry Horowitz. And you guys know who Barry is. He's been around for a long-ass time. He has never barely won at all. Ever. And he just got a win over Johnny Swinger. I believe this is 4-0. And I'm not talking about 4 wins and 1 loss. This is 4 losses and 4 losses and 0 wins for a Johnny Swinger. Unless they're going to go down the Kurt Hawkins road, where he's going to have 50 losses, not 50 wins, and they give him a shot at maybe the Digital Media Championship. This is what we're going with. He has not won once in months. And when Barry won, he went over to the Director of Authority, along with Dirty Dango, and pretty much said, this was so great. I'm so happy. I am on a high. I want to try and have the same type of shot like a Johnny Swinger. He says, okay. And this is Santino. He says, all right, you want it? Next person's Rhino. He says, no, forget it. No. He knows Rhino. Let's make it clear. He knows. He loves Rhino when he beats his ass. And he's going like, no, I think I'll go on a high. I won 1. I'll leave it. Guys, if you don't like this, I'm not surprised. And not everyone's going to like this type of comedy. It's silly, yes. There are some who do. And you know who you are, my friend. You know. If we lived in the same city, in the same country, I'm sure you'd be begging me to go to lunch. So we go out. But I'm telling you right now, everyone else might not be into this, but it is something different. Look, pro wrestling is not all about matches. Let's make this clear. There was comedy. Look, Mark Henry and Mae Young having a hand as a baby. You can't tell me that wasn't comedic gold. No one expected her to give birth to a hand. It was beyond stupid. It was ludicrous speed. If you've never seen Spaceballs, that is ludicrous speed. But it was damn funny. I'm not saying this is even close to it, but it is still funny. But still, you need this in pro wrestling. Sometimes JD can't stand comedy that much anymore. He hates it. And I'm sure Just Alex wouldn't even like this either. But they tend to forget one of the moments that we used to have in the Attitude Era was not just how badass everybody was. There was a lot of comedy. Look what happened with Kurt Angle and when it happened with Steve Austin, where they couldn't wrestle because of their necks. They performed. They did jokes. They did whatever they could to get over. Don't forget the fundamentals of true pro wrestling. It's not just amateur wrestling and getting pinned and showing emotion. It's about comedy. Let's move on. All right. Let's go to Eddie Edwards and Heath. Now, I didn't say this in the previous match, that when it came to the Steve Maclin, he used Heath's own finishing move to get over on Rhino. You didn't get that here. when it came to Eddie Edwards. Pretty much, Eddie and Heath did a damn good match. Actually, better than Maclin and Rhino. Not taking anything away from Maclin. Macklin's my boy. I do like Maclin a lot. He wrestles great. And Rhino still can go. But here was better. And honestly, Heath, I gotta say this as Heath Slater, formerly known WWE. Guys, tell me below. Even though he doesn't get that much TV time, tell me he doesn't seem to be more happier. Look, there are a lot of reasons why people don't stay in promotions very long. There's one, because they don't have the right money, or two, because they feel like they got nothing. They gain nothing. They feel empty. When you look at Rhino and Heath, when they had their moments in WWE, yeah, but then they would just stream like dirt. Here, I have this feeling Heath is really enjoying himself. Honestly, I'm not saying that Heath is being booked correctly, but he's enjoying himself. He just gives off an air of someone legitimately is actually enjoying coming to work and actually saying, look, let's try something. I want to do something. And when you see his rest work, well, the reason I botch here is because when you look at him compared to what he used to do in WWE, his wrestling style is not the same. Guys, if you say he's exactly the same, he's not. I'm sorry, he isn't. He normally wouldn't have done a helo off the ring skirt onto somebody. He wouldn't do that. Most of the moves he's done lately have been completely different, particularly after he came back from injury. I'm commending him for at least enjoying what he's doing and putting more of an effort. Now, do they need to write him better? Hell yeah, they do. But at least he does seem like he's enjoying what he's doing. And that's hard to say in pro wrestling, particularly in WWE when Vince was running it. I'm just saying. And particularly now Vince is back and we still don't know if he's going to leave after the, selling of WWE if it happens. I'm just moving on. Other than PCO coming out, attacking an Eddie. Well, let me step back a little bit. The lightning and the flashing of the lights made it clear PCO influenced it, and Heath won. He's going into the Fatal 4-Way. Then PCO comes out. And now PCO got a little piece, little tiny piece of an Eddie Edwards. But that also means that Eddie's going to have a reason to mess with the Fatal 4-Way because PCO is in the Fatal 4-Way. He is. So, that's what you get. And this thing's too high. There you go. Now, I don't want to look like this, okay? I know I'm balding. I just don't want to look ridiculous, okay? Now, let's move on to... should I do this now? Yes. Marsha Slamovich versus Alicia Edwards. Let's make this very clear. Did you guys actually think Alicia stood a chance? No, she did not. I'm not against Alicia. I'm not. I would rather see her as a manager more than I see her as a wrestler. Nothing that she can't still wrestle, but she would probably better managing her husband or managing someone else than just wrestling. At least she'll be on the show more often than on BTI. That's if they even show matches on BTI. Or when they do an Impact Plus show, and then she might get a match there. I'm just saying. At least do something more with her. I'm not saying she's the greatest wrestler, but do something. But I didn't expect her to even survive a Marsha Slamovich. She won, obvious. She gets basically choked out and started tapping, and that's after she lost. And Mickie James, who was at ringside on commentary, runs in her boots with a bit of a heel, being as careful as she can not to break her neck. Gets in there to try and stop Marsha, but Marsha basically gets her in a chokehold, and it took like 3 refs to get her off of her. And Mickie going, choking, showing a little bit of this. Look, we all like this, men and women alike. And we saw Marsha looking good, but I think this didn't mean as much as the interview. I'm sorry. For me personally, seeing her in the ring, yes, it shows that she's tough. What I need is more of a character. And you see that character in the interview when she went and talked with Gia, and they did subtitles, which was fine. In real life, Marsha probably can speak some English, or maybe very good English, or maybe no English. I think she can speak English. But them doing subtitles was perfectly fine. And making it very clear that her attitude is a no-nonsense, straightforward attitude, making it clear that the question was, Do you think you made a statement? Yes. Do you think Mickie James is taking you seriously? No. Do you think she'll win? No. And she made it very clear, I'm going to take you out. That was more important than the match was, because we get more out of Marsha. And if anyone who loved her on the indies right now leaves a comment saying she don't need to talk, she just needs to wrestle, I'm sorry, you're wrong. No disrespect intended. You're seeing her from a standpoint of an indie wrestler going to the more minor promotions that don't have as much TV time as Impact Wrestling, even though they don't get that many people watching them nationally. Internationally, and on the app, they may have better numbers, but in national numbers, it's not that great. You need to understand, in a major promotion that has a TV deal, you need to show these people, and the reason why people at home should actually care about them watching the pay-per-view and buying the damn merch. I'm sorry. Impact Wrestling needs people to buy their merch. They don't get that much from Anthem. Anthem owns them and may give them a certain budget, but they still got to work on their own. They still make money on their own. So you need to understand the concept. No disrespect to you, because I can understand your point of view. Marsha is hot on the indie scene. She don't need to talk. She just being badass. Well, it doesn't work like that in a show, in a promotion that actually uses cameras most of the time, and people at home paying tens of thousands of dollars to watch pay-per-view and buy the damn merch. It don't work that way. I'm just saying. Next, let's get to a little bit of the talk. Let me give it to you like this. Was the Bully Ray and, Busted Open Live, that's going to be on the pay-per-view. You think it's going to work? I don't know. In fact, I think it should have been a match. But they are going to do the Busted Open Live segment on the pay-per-view. Well, not pay-per-view, Impact Plus show. Let's make this clear. Was Bully Ray telling Tommy to leave? Yes. Because Tommy didn't want to fight anymore. He made it very clear. Look, we have been together for years. We're too old. We're over 50. We're 50-year-old men. We don't need to do this anymore. Look, let's just go on ways. We don't have to fight. We don't have to do this anymore. You know this is a joke. We don't need this. And Bully's telling him to leave the company. And they started arguing, and then it is Santino that says, look, stop. You're going to get this chance at Busted Open Live with your own friend Dave, who's part of your show, to do something. But Bully wanted to talk first, and Tommy wanted to talk first, and Santino said, stop. Let's make this clear. Next week, both of you are going to be in the Beat the Clock Challenge. Whoever wins by having the shortest amount of time has the right to speak first on Busted Open Live. So that's what they're going to do. Do I believe this is going to work? I don't want to give any predictions. I don't think I should. It's easy to give one because anybody can probably see there's going to be a fight, but I'm not going to say who's going to start the fight and when it'll start the fight and how is this going to translate into something that will lead into the show later. I'm going to leave it. But I'm sure most of you are thinking, these two are going to break out into a fight on that show. They're going to fight on No Surrender, and maybe they will. But we don't know who's going to start it. We don't know how far it's going to go. We don't know if there's going to be a match later in that night, and we don't know what's going to happen later after that, leading into Rebellion. Because Rebellion will be coming out in, later in March? So until then, we don't know. Now, next, we got, let me give it to you like this. Am I interested in No Surrender, Jonathan Gresham versus a Speedball Mac Bailey? Yes. Do I wish they would do more of a build other than just having a match together? Seeing if they can coexist? No. I wish they'd done this earlier. But they had to still go by the story of what happened with Speedball Mike Bailey and Kenny King because Kenny King did beat him. I'm just saying. Next, what else do we have here? The design. Next week, I believe, you are getting a match with Callahan and Diener because the next stage of the 7 deadly ways they're going to let him in is he's going to have to work with Diener. I think it's going to be trust. Can Diener be trusted? Well, not can Diener trust a Callahan, because I think Angels doesn't trust him. So that's going to be the thing. Now, what else do we have? We also have Crazy Steve, who made it very clear to a Trey. The MT means a total moment. I believe that's what he said. And he made it very clear that you attacking me from behind before, I'm never going to leave you alone now because you did something very stupid. It's never going to end. But I might let it end if you let me have a shot at the X Division title. So, you're going to have Crazy Steve next week going against a... I don't understand why they're doing this. Why don't they leave it for the Why don't they leave it for No Surrender? I'm about to call it a pay-per-view. It's a mini pay-per-view. Come on. Why don't they leave it for No Surrender? It can't be that stacked, is it? Not saying that the show is going to be garbage. I'm just saying you couldn't have it on No Surrender? Really? I think you should put on No Surrender. Not the week or a few days before No Surrender happens. I really believe that it should be on No Surrender, not a couple of nights before. I don't like that. It's really dumb. It's a waste of a good match and a good story. If Steve wins, he's going to be the new champ. If Steve loses, what then happens? Does this really help Trey or not? I'm just saying. The Hex. They're still going with the Undead Realm. You still got Father Mitchell, who, since he sold his soul, can't stay very long because he's got to go off and do whatever the boss says to do. But he makes it very clear. Rosemary, you are foolish. The last time you had titles, you didn't show any respect to your dad. You didn't show any tribute to your dad. You didn't do a damn thing for your dad. He didn't take that lightly. He didn't like it. He got pissed. So that's the reason why you've been gifted the Hex. And the Hex using that Hex name as puns. And I'm not going there. I'll hexecute I'll hexecute myself. I had to do it. I'm sorry, guys. I had to do it. But you get my point. The Hex are there. Allison Kay, who's not using Sienna name, I'm glad. Let her be who she is. And Marty Bell, being Marty Bell, makes it very clear that they've been champions everywhere, namely NWA World. Well, I wish they had more of a women's division in NWA. They didn't really have that much. But that's just me. But was the segment effective? Yes. The question is, now you got these extra women in here, how long will it be before they actually start making them do singles matches? Next week. Guess what? Next week they are going to do singles matches. But here's the thing. How long will it be before they're going to make them do singles matches a lot? They're tag team. And the major problem that Impact has had compared to, well, WWE is not doing anything with their tag divisions, no matter if it's NXT or on the main roster. And when it comes to AEW, since they don't have a tag division for the women, they do make them tag a lot. They do more tagging than Impact does. They got more women coming in than Impact does, and that's the major issue. As I said in my AEW review when it came to Ruby Soho, I said it to somebody in the comments. I said, I wish Ruby would be in Impact Wrestling. I think she might get a better push than she would have here. Honestly, because you got two factions that has 3 women and 2 women. And honestly, and that's sometimes 3 women, because they don't always show Rebel. Honestly, I'd rather see her in Impact Wrestling be a knockout for a little while. But I don't think she's going to break a contract. And I don't think they're going to let her break it anyway. But to be honest, I'm hoping with the Hex that they bring more women into job. Look, the tag division need women to come in and wrestle. Independents, bring them in, do a taping or 2 with them. At least it'll feel more fleshed out. That's just me, guys, down below. Let me see if I'm forgetting anything. I'm probably forgetting anything. Let's go to the last match, and that is Rick Swann versus a Kenny King. Now, was I interested in this match? No, but they need to make Rick Swann look strong. And the match wasn't bad. I don't know if they've ever faced each other in MLW or maybe New Japan Pro Wrestling or anywhere. They were very familiar with each other, so that was obvious. Did they botch, though? A little bit. Kenny botched a little bit compared to Rich, and Rich botched a little bit to Kenny. I don't think they've actually gone head to head with each other in a while. So that's obvious. But they do have chemistry, so the match was pretty good. In the end, I wasn't surprised about Kenny losing. He wasn't meant to win. But when it was over, Kenny bringing out a chair after he beat a little bit of Rick when he won, you get Josh coming out, the obligatory face champion coming out to try and save him, and then you get the kick to the face by Rich Swann by accident. Atypical WWE booking. I'm sorry. WWE did that more than any other promotion. And I'm not saying AAW didn't do it. That pretty much OVW hasn't done it, or WCW hasn't done it, or ECW hasn't done it, or any of the other promotions that ever existed. They've all done it. But you would think by now they do something a little bit different. At least try not to go in the same pattern, because Josh has now done this how many times in the last year? Multiple times. You would think he'd be smart enough not to run out and be crazy enough not to get nailed in the face by an opponent, whether they're face or heel. You would think it'd be better, but it isn't. This was typical. Is it bad? No. But I wish it was something different. In the end, the show was good. Except for the camera work for the last 3 matches, which was zoomed way too much, and zoom in and outs a few too much, and zoom close a little too much. I'm just saying for myself. I'm sure everyone else will say it was fine. But I'm still looking at the perspective, like I've always said. I look at the entire promotion, not just the show, how it's being run, not just by the character development for the wrestlers, how the wrestlers wrestle. It's got to be how the ring looks. It's got to be how the lightings look. It's got to be how the audio's running, how the camera work is. Because remember, people who really pay the biggest amount of money is not just the people in the arena. It's us doing the pay-per-views and buying the merch as well. But that's just me, and I hope you enjoyed this Impact review. Please give me a comment below. Oh, if you see the intro again, I think I might keep it in there. I won't really add no pictures to it like I did with the last few. I just decided to just put it in for a little while. I don't know if I'm going to make a new intro. I am eventually going to make one. It's been a lot on my mind. It's hard to be creative the way I want. Hell, I haven't even done my anime for a while because I've been so frustrated. Every time when I'm starting, something happens and I have to stop. It kind of sucks. But if you want to know it, just leave a comment and I'll leave a connection to my other channel, which is just music videos with anime built into it that I've done myself. Peace.